Like our content? It's funded by viewers like you. Please consider becoming a sustaining supporter of New Church Live today.
Good morning, friends. Pastor Chuck Blair, great to have you joining us today. And today we're going to take a look at is sort of a tricky topic. But before getting into the tricky topic, what I want to do is just simply put out there on the airwaves, Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Happy Mother's Day. If you're someone who has who sort of is a stand-in mom, Happy Mother's Day to you. Great to have you taking the time to join us this morning for a really important topic, which is how do we know when it might be time to leave a relationship? And how do relationships change? And how do we deal with relationships when they're really in troubled waters? And it's a topic where, I was telling Marcus right before the service, it's a topic that is like, oh, it's so fraught with so many different ideas and concepts. And I was thinking about it, a lot over the past, month or two in terms of what we can offer in terms of how God might have us see it. And I would imagine that there's kind of two strains of thought. One is, how do you deal with relationships that are more romantic in nature and you're not sure whether there's a future to it or not? That's one way to see it. And another way is what do we do when we're in relationships where it's really breaking down? It's really not working. And how do we hold all that together? And how do we move through it in a way that somehow is a testimony to God's grace and God's love? And that is not easy to do. What I'm reminded of in hopping into today's service is that I use this quote all the time, Thich Nhat Hanh's famous thing, where do things grow best? In really dirty dirt, not in rubbing alcohol, that things grow best in times that may feel tumultuous, times that may feel like things are breaking down, that may actually be a time of growth. But that's not always true. I would imagine that for all of us, and again, folks, whether you're here in our studio audience or whether you're joining us from somewhere online, wherever you're joining us from, you've probably had a relationship where you needed to take a step back. You needed to move away from it. And what can we do in terms of how we hold it? And this sermon is not going to have like the easy answer because we don't know each other's circumstances, and it can be really, really difficult trying to navigate it. And I certainly wouldn't want people to feel like here are 3 easy steps, nor would I want someone going home today after church and being like, Pastor just told me I need to break up with you. Wouldn't want that. In a way, maybe if at the end of the service today, people stay with it just a little bit longer, that might be the better outcome. And at the same time, knowing that is not always the best outcome. That there are times to back away. And that's what we're going to look at today. So as we look at it, friends, like we're looking at it in this context of a story that we started talking about last week, story of these ancient villages, Sodom and Gomorrah, that get destroyed in the Old Testament. And we talked about it from a perspective of seeing the deeper poetic truth that God's never going to be wiping out towns. God's never going to be hitting the nuclear destruct button to blow people up and to blow cities up. That's just not the way it works. But there is a beautiful poetic truth that if you think of these cities as a mindset, which is what we looked at last week, as a mindset, and sometimes our mindsets are so dysfunctional, so off kilter, that we need to leave. And oftentimes the challenge is we don't want to leave. We're so comfortable in the dysfunction that, as the story says, we need somebody to grab us by the hand and pull us forward. And if a mindset can be dysfunctional, so can a relationship. And today we're kind of shifting gears, looking at a mindset. Instead of looking at that, looking at relationships that have become deeply dysfunctional. And how do we sort of break out of that, knowing a lot of the time, again, we can get very comfortable with the dysfunction. And sometimes, again, there needs to be a pull outward. And then there needs to be this commitment to not look back. That's what we're going to really be focusing on today. Like, what does it mean to not look back? And I'm going to, hopefully, you'll hear some things that'll be a little surprising around that. Because I don't think it's about sort of amputation, like never looking at that relationship again. I don't think that's it. I think it's where we stop looking back with judgment and anger and resentment at relationships that may not have worked the way we wanted them to, and we find a vision and we start moving forward. We see that embedded in this line here. The angels took his hand, and this is Lot's hand, and Lot's wife's hand, and the hand of his daughters. As soon as the angels had brought them out, one of them said, "Flee for your lives, don't look back, and don't stop anywhere on the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away." And it is that idea, friends, of here's Lot and his family, ancient patriarch. The town's being destroyed. He's been caught in all the dysfunction of that town, those towns. And here are angels. Word for angels in Hebrew is messengers. Here's these messengers who grab him and his family by the hand, and they start to pull them out. And so we're looking at pulling out of that relationship. And again, how do we make sure that when that happens, we're not looking back? That's the focus for today. Now, for those of you joining us for the first time, and it's wonderful, again, to see people who join us online all the time, from all over the world, really, which is kind of fun. We ask that you think about maybe participating a little bit in the service today. And to participate, what we do is we text. We do texting here in church. And the text is around this question here. What does your best self know about breaking a relationship? Now notice I didn't say what is your angry self or your currently resentful self. What does your best self know about this idea of breaking a relationship? What do you know? And what you can do is you can text in an answer to me at 215-740-3662. That's 215-740-3662. Text me in an answer. And again, warmly invite you folks. Most people watch our services archived. If you're watching it later today or tomorrow, feel free to text me. I'd love to have a little conversation with you via text on this very question. So friends, welcome. Welcome to New Church Live. And a big welcome to Lena, right? Saying that correctly? Lena's joining us for the first time today. She's got a wonderful voice. We're so happy to have her here as part of our congregation today. So friends, welcome. Welcome to New Church Live.
Took my love and I took it down. Climbed the mountain and I turned around, and I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills till the landslide brought me down. Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love? Can the child within my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I handle the seasons of my life? Oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I built my life around you. But time makes you bolder, children get older, and I am getting older too. So I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I built my whole life around you. But time makes you bolder, even children get older, and I am getting older too. So take this love and take it down. So if you climb a mountain and you turn around, and if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, well, the landslide will bring you down. Yeah, well, the landslide will bring you down.
Boy, beautiful song. Thank you so much. And, friends, as we look at it today, we're going to take a look at it. And one of the key points I really do want to start out with is we're always facing this, right? Where we finally get aware, like, oh, this relationship is just dysfunctional. And it could be with somebody we love to pieces, and it could be with a coworker who drives us crazy. But we're clear, this just isn't working anymore. And the problem is, over time, we may become very comfortable with the dysfunction, but we realize, just like the destruction of these cities, it's time for something to die so that something new can be born. And that's where we're faced with just this basic choice, to renew or release. There's lots of opportunities to renew relationships. I think back to a beautiful quote that I love. It was from a marriage counselor, and she said, I hope you're married 4 or 5 times, all to the same person. I like that quote. Because that's the idea of renewal, that really good relationships renew again and again and again. And then, as well, we just need to be aware that there are times where we are asked to release things. And we're asked to release not as a form of punishment. Please, this is not about figuring out a way to punish those who wronged you. That would be a bad sermon title. It's not about punishment. It's about movement. And that renewal or release, both of them can kind of have a future in mind, because there are times, friends, and this is a little bit of an aside, where we release a relationship, but we're releasing it knowing that if there's any hope for a future relationship, for the time being, there needs to be space. I think that's very true, and that can be a very, very courageous decision to make. So let's get started here, folks. It was interesting, those of you who are joining us for the first time, we have this beautiful group that meets every Thursday. It's called Sermon Writing Team. And what I do is I throw out a couple of ideas, and then they come back with all their ideas. And I was looking back through my notes this morning, and this particular sermon writing team for this sermon, when I heard all their input, the first note I made was, throw out everything you've already written. Because their perspectives were so refreshing. So you're hearing what a group of people thought about this topic. And one of the real fascinating starting points that someone had is when is it time to leave? And this person said it beautifully. They said, it's time to leave when, again, you're in such dysfunction that you realize you're in hell. And again, it's challenging, right? Because it's not that we want to say no one else is accountable, no one else is responsible, it's all on me. I mean, of course, people can do really harsh things, and we need to say something to that person when that happens. But at the same time, we always need to kind of boil that down and allow that to come back to us, and what are we going to do about it with our agency and our freedom as God gives us to see it. The more we consistently externalize our problems in life, the less happy we'll be. I'm sure all of us, and maybe this is part of your life, or maybe, I think we all have it as part of our life actually, or maybe it's just part of life in general, or maybe you can see it in someone else, where they've so externalized every problem that they're totally powerless now. The only power they seem to have now is complaint. That's not a superpower. It's an easy power to sort of succumb to. So, friends, that idea of, again, when I'm in hell, again, think of Sodom and Gomorrah, that dysfunctional mindset that can lead to a dysfunctional relationship, when we realize, this is just not working. It's not working in any way, shape, or form. And as part of that, friends, an important note here is it's not about saying to someone else, well, you're making me be this way. That's an important little caveat. Anytime we're doing that, like you're making me be this way, we've just given away all our power. No one else has that much power over you. They really don't. Maybe there's part of your life that feels that way. Maybe there's part of your life that in a natural sense, maybe financially, etc., is that way, where literally they do have that kind of power. But the power of the soul is far different. Remember decades and decades ago, watching that old series Roots. I don't know how many of you remember that series. Way back in the day. And there was a beautiful line in that series where this slave says, you can touch my body, but you can't touch my soul. And I think that's a really important part to keep in mind, that our souls is what we're talking about here, friends. So it's really kind of going like, yeah, I'm finding myself in this relationship. It's just not working. And I'm going to own my part of that. And again, it's that 100% accountability. It doesn't mean that everything is 50-50, but it means that even if you're 10% responsible, be 100% responsible for your 10%. That feeling of hell, friends, it's important for us to just take a minute and to talk about that. Hell is really this state of mind. When I am in hell, it's a state of mind. It's something that is internal. Can you have external circumstances that can feel hellish? Absolutely. And important to remember that these are by and large internal states in us. I'm very privileged. I work with a local college. I do a chapel there every Friday, and we had the last one of the year on Friday, and I was telling the students, like, isn't it interesting, right, that we can really live heaven now? Because I could ask you right now, tell me the last time you experienced heaven, and you'd go right into it. As well as I could ask you, when was the last time it just felt like hell, where life felt like hell? You'd go right into it. Because somehow we know. Because the spiritual life is the life of thoughts and feelings. And yes, there is a heaven, and yes, there is a hell. And the way we experience those in this life is through our thoughts and through our feelings. Which is why we use the term, feels like hell, feels heavenly. We use those terms all the time. And this idea of hell being a state of mind, and what is hell as a state of mind? Well, hell as a state of mind, it's these things. It's a constant effort to destroy, united to an anger, a kind of rage. Any time we find ourselves like giving in to rage, that's an experience of hell in our lives. And very few relationships are well served by rage. I think we all know that. Are there times where we can get angry? Are there times where maybe there can even be an appearance of rage? What might be called zeal because you're trying to protect something you love deeply? Absolutely. But rage is a consistent response. All that is embedding us deeper and deeper into hell. That's not a way out of a dysfunctional relationship. It may be a sign of dysfunction, but it's not a way out. As well, friends, as the idea that idea of being in the dysfunction of something, when we're in that dysfunction, hell has no interest in you solving it. Now, we have many, many young couples who are part of New Church Live. The vast, vast, vast majority of them watch online. And, we do this exercise called the boat exercise. When you're in the boat, which is when your relationship is highly functional. When you're out of the boat, your relationship is highly dysfunctional. We talk about that, do that consistently with young couples. And one of the questions is, and I've been doing this for, I've been a pastor here at New Church Live for going on 18 years now. And we look at dysfunctional, when we're both in that dysfunctional place, and just asking couples like, well, when was the last time you solved a problem when you were both out of the boat? No one has ever said they solved anything when they were both out of the boat. Dysfunction does not create solution at all. And part of that, friends, is this next quote here. And it's this idea that when we're in that place, we're devoted to evil goals and the distortions that result. And that idea of distortions, where it's like we put ourselves into this funny house where all of a sudden we're seeing things in these crazy upside down ways. We distort things. I mean, and that's where it's important to remember. It's like it's hell doing that. It literally is hell doing that. And it certainly doesn't feel great to be in that kind of position, right? It doesn't feel great when you feel like you're talking over here and they're talking over here, and it's both because you're in a dysfunctional place and hell's having a field day down there, and you're both in that dysfunctional place, so there's no sort of attempt towards a solution or attempt towards resolution. It's just pure dysfunction. I remember a line that I loved. I love this line. I've preached on it probably 3 times now, so I'm just going to mention it and not do a sermon on it. But Martin Luther King and his 10 rules for nonviolent resistance, and I think this one can easily apply to relationships as well. 10 rules for nonviolent resistance. He said, "We desire reconciliation, not victory." Oh, that's good. That desire to be reconciled versus that desire to be right. Those are 2 very different energies. Because we have to be able to look at that if we're going to constantly put our partner in that box and just, that no, it's actually not about reconciliation, it's actually about being right. We're going to constantly put them in a box where they get to consistently be wrong and consistently be bad. And that's not healthy for a relationship in that place. So with relationships, as they're strained, what can we do? How can we start to see it maybe a little bit differently? And again, this is all within the context of release or renew. This is all within the context of sometimes, it's going to open up a way to a new relationship as we figuratively, poetically leave Sodom and Gomorrah and start moving, not looking back. And it may be that it gives you more insight into when it's time to release a relationship, to really let it go. And that's this candid acknowledgement, starting out with this rigorous honesty that we are in hell. Like, that's just no small thing. Just even being able to say, this is dysfunctional. This is not working. It's not saying that to the other person, like, you are dysfunctional, though they might be. It's really trying to center it on the relationship and saying, this relationship is not functional. It's not working. And we need to be candid about that, because that's the place where we can really get to this idea of simply owning it. And then once we own it, like, here it is, then I think what we can do is then we can go to a second part where we start to believe, let it begin with me. Let it begin with me. That's where, friends, that let it begin with me, that's where we sort of can start to find our spiritual power. And it's not, this morning I was out on a walk and I was listening to this podcast. I had this little advertisement for one of these big sort of epic, fill up the stadium, loud music, come to Jesus things. Those may well be terrific. They may well really work for some people. But just be careful with that kind of stuff. I probably shouldn't even be saying this, but I'm going to say it. Be careful with that kind of stuff. That kind of rah-rah spirituality, where you come out on a huge high, but there's no work. Huge amount of entertainment, but no sacrifice. There are times for that. There are times to feel that way, and there's times in our spiritual life where we get to experience that, but don't confuse that with the actual work of spirituality. A lot of the work of spirituality is hard because it's where we get to own our part, where we really get to own the part that we've played in this. And there's some parts here, friends, that are really kind of difficult. And they're difficult to explain. I almost wish we had recorded sermon writing teams so you could hear a group talking about it in the round, because I think there's so many important spiritual points here, in terms of not looking back. When we look back too much, right? Here's the hard thing. When we look back too much, we make the story of that hurt the story of our life. We make that story of that hurt the story of our life. That's so hard to hold, because that hurt is part of our life. No doubt about it. But that hurt is not your life. And it's not my life. It's not our life. I remember this great quote that Anne Lamott had, and she said, it's you will lose someone you can't live without. And here she's talking about the tragic circumstances of somebody dying too soon. And you'll feel like you can't live without them, and it will feel like you're walking around with a broken leg. And then she has this beautiful line. She said, the leg will heal, and you will learn to dance, and you will learn to dance with a limp. Oh, that's good theology. Dancing with a limp. It's not, again, that pain, we just pretend that wasn't part of life. No, it was part. It was there. The dysfunction was there. And we'll learn to dance again, and it'll be with a limp. It'll be with a reminder of those, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And the hard part to describe here, friends, is how do we avoid kind of a spiritual codependency? It's easy if we say, all right, that bad thing, that bad relationship, that bad whatever, that is my life. It's easy to then shove all your power, all the little chits, to shove them all over there and give them to that person. And that's not fair. It's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you. Did a wedding charge years ago, wonderful couple, amazing couple. And in the wedding charge, one of the things that we had talked about is that, look, he's just a boy. He's not the solution to all problems, and he's not the cause of all problems. I mean, not the solution to all problems, and he's certainly not the cause of all problems. And she's just a girl. Not the cause of all problems, not the solution to all problems. We're human. We're human, and that means that there'll always be this incredible mix and this incredible back and forth. And when we look back and we say, well, that bad thing that happened is my life, what we're going to constantly look back on is with blame and guilt. Constantly looking back with blame and guilt. Blame and guilt are parts of the natural human progression, right? We do that. It's part of life. All of us do that. And there's no way I think we ever fully turn off that switch in this life. I had somebody beep at me and give me a colorful hand gesture while I was driving a couple days ago. A lot of blame on my part. And that's just the natural, that's just like the quick human reaction. But where does, like, when you live looking back and you live facing this way to all that blame and guilt, where does it lead you? Does it lead you outside to go on a walk in a bright sunny day? Or does it leave you enclosed in your own thoughts? Thoughts that really hell is all too happy to give you. All too happy to allow to flow through you. Does it get you out there looking towards reconciliation? Does it get you looking to any kind of joy at all? I think we know the answer to that. And that's why, again, if we have a relationship and it's one where there was good cause to leave it, and again, folks, I want to say sometimes there are. I mean, as a pastor, sometimes I've told people, yep, you got to leave that relationship. But as we switch, this is where we're going to be going next week, that looking to the mountains. But I want to talk about that briefly here today. That's where our focus has to be serving the good in the neighbor. That's the shift. It's away from blame and judgment, and it's towards trying to serve the good in the neighbor. Remember, friends, like that person who just drives you crazy, who you've had to leave that relationship, please remember that they have beautiful God-given qualities too. We may not see it. They may not be living any of those qualities at the moment, but that doesn't mean those qualities aren't there. And so much of that is being able to see people that way and to just think, how can I serve those qualities that are best in them? How can I serve those qualities that are best in them? You know, imagine a couple who gets a divorce because he's really struggling. I'll just make up a story here off the top of my head. He's really struggling with alcohol. The relationship's so dysfunctional, they need to go their separate ways. What could serving the good in the neighbor look like there? Well, it might look like the spouse. It might look like she really is going to be super supportive of all his sobriety. We had a beautiful memorial service, a number of months ago, and this woman's ex-husband came to talk and chatting with him, and well after they were divorced, she really, again, serving the good in the neighbors, the fancy theological speak, but that's what she did. She would drive him to 12-step meetings. They couldn't be together. But she was not going to be caught in blame and guilt, and there was plenty of it. She was going to get caught up in serving the good in the neighbor. Now, can you always do that with everyone? No, obviously. But what a beautiful testimony that you're going to see that goodness, and you're going to see, like as he said, and she always was so supportive of me as a dad, because that's that support of a father. She knew he was a good father. She knew that the addiction made relationship impossible. But she valued his sobriety, and she valued his parenting of their daughter. That's a beautiful way to hold it and a beautiful way to start to look at it a little bit differently. Because so much of life, friends, it comes down to this idea of mutual love. Mutual love is the very being of heaven. It is that which makes heaven. It is also the source of true happiness. For in mutual love, one finds joy in the happiness of others. We're going to come back to this one again and again and a couple more times because I think it's really important. I love that last line there. For mutual love, one finds joy in the happiness of others. We want to be really careful, friends, as we leave relationships, that we're not celebrating someone else's demise. Because sometimes when we leave relationships, it's because we can see a pattern and because we know where that pattern goes. And here we're talking a romantic relationship, a friendship. We know where that pattern goes, and we know it's going nowhere good. That old joke, right? It's not the light at the end of the tunnel, it's an oncoming train. And we're seeing the oncoming train. But that doesn't mean we celebrate the demise. It means as best we can, we have this service and that idea, again, of this deeper joy with mutual love, this deeper joy that goes deeply, deeply down to really seeing and witnessing to their happiness, their true joy. That's an important place to be. When we come back, friends, I want to talk a little bit more about what it is like to not look back. Again, if you want to send some answers in or some thoughts, please feel free to do that. Text it in at 215-740-3662.
Something always brings me back to you. It never takes too long. No matter what I say or do, I still feel you here till the moment I'm gone. You hold me without touch, keep me without chains. I never wanted anything so much than to drown in your love, and I feel your rain. Set me free, leave me be. I don't want to fall another moment in your gravity. Here I am in a stand, so tall, just the way I'm supposed to be. But you're onto me and all over me. Oh, you loved me 'cause I'm fragile, and I thought that I was strong. But you touched me for a little while. Now my fragile strength is gone. Set me free, leave me be. I don't want to fall another moment into your gravity. Here I am in a stand, so tall, just the way I'm supposed to be. But you're onto me and all over me. I leave here on my knees as I try to make you see that you're everything I think I need here on the ground. You're neither friend nor foe, although I can't seem to let you go. One thing that I still know is that you're keeping me down. You're keeping me down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're onto me and all over. Something always brings me back to you. It never takes too long.
Morning, friends, and just a quick announcement from Pastor Chuck Blair, and that's dealing with our fundraising this year. Every year when we come into the last couple of months of the year, it's where we finish up our fundraising, and so that we can continue to support all the programs that people have come to rely on here at New Church Live. Your help is greatly appreciated. As of today, we have about $145,000 left to go, and we have a couple months to get that done. You can donate one of two ways very easily. You can donate directly on our homepage if you go to newchurchlive.tv. Click the donate tab in the top right. That's one way to donate. And the other way is to text 77977, and then in the body of the message, hit New Church Live, all lowercase, all one word, and that'll take you to a link to donate as well. We deeply appreciate it as we move forward. Again, your generous support enables us to do all these wonderful things that have made this church a home for so many. Take care. Bye-bye.
Just want to say again, what a beautiful song, right? Whew. And you can hear the angst in that. I mean, there's nothing easy or surgical about leaving a relationship, and it's why, again, I would really have a hard time with someone who would say, like, these are the three things, and then leave. You know, there are obvious extreme circumstances, abuse, etc., where, you know, leave today. But most people don't have that kind of experience. They have this experience of things that are dysfunctional. Do you leave or not? And I don't necessarily always have the answer for that, but I do think that we can continue to move forward in our lives. And that idea, friends, that idea of this mutual love that we had, and this mutual love we talked about, and this concept of if you do leave, like, don't look back. Don't make that problem and that dysfunction the whole way you define your life from here on out. Let's look at that passage just one more time. Like, flee for your lives, don't look back, don't stop anywhere in the plane. Well, of course it's saying flee for your lives, because if you do look back, you're going to, in a sense, go back, and all you're going to find there is death. You will not find spiritual life there. And it doesn't mean amputation. From a 12-step tradition, it's not about amputation, it's about detachment. It's about understanding and acknowledging, and instead of getting caught looking behind, look forward as best you can, carrying that experience with you. There were some beautiful, beautiful answers, and these ones, I'm not going to try to organize them all, and there were some that were very personal that I will not read because they're just the other personal ones. But there are some that are really, I found very, very, very beautiful. One person wrote, "Each soul must feel its worth in a healthy relationship." Another person wrote, "Breaking away from a toxic relationship was hard and fraught with sadness. I'm the one that wronged the person. I attempted to repair the relationship many times with apologies and asking for forgiveness. Sadly, we never reconciled. This person died around the time I attempted to ask forgiveness the last time." Another person wrote, "Being able to see the potential angel in the person I'm having difficulty with." Another person said, "I heard a still small voice." That's a reference to an Old Testament story. "Not an opening of clouds from heaven, that God would let me know when I could leave. God would let me know when I could leave, and just to work on myself for a while. God did let me know I could leave the relationship later. I'm grateful." That's a beautiful way to put it. Another person wrote, "To know and accept that there are what ifs and questions that will never be resolved or answered." Another person wrote, "Breaking a relationship can be done with love and respect." Those are such beautiful answers, friends. And again, feel free to text me later if you want to have a conversation on Zoom. You can shoot me a note and we can talk about it. Because it is, just even looking at those responses, right? There's no clear through line of how to do it. It's a lot of different things that we try to move forward, and relationships just are a mess. They're up, even good ones. They're up, they're down, they're good days, there's bad days, there's losing your temper one minute, there's a moment of tenderness the next. Like, it's all these things. And it's all within the context of what we're here to do. We're here to learn the ways of love. Like, it's that simple. And love is not always this airy, nostalgic rainbows and unicorns thing. Sometimes, as C.S. Lewis famously pointed out when he was talking about Aslan the lion, in his famous series, children's book series, sometimes love is really fierce. Sometimes it appears a certain way. And we're here to learn about all that. We're here to learn that. And see that all within God's stream, a stream towards heaven. A quote I've used from a dear friend of mine who's also a pastor that I just loved. He was talking about working with someone who had a very difficult relationship with one of their parents. And he told her, her parent passed away, and he told her, and I love this line, he said, "Look, when you see her again in heaven, when you see her again, you're both going to be in a better place." I love that line. I think that's so true. So what is it, friends, that we can do here? Well, I think here's some things we can embrace. If you want a to-do list, this might be one just more directional than specific, but directionally what to think of. First off, do think about, again, what's the responsibility here? What's your responsibility? Maybe for some people, it's a responsibility to have a hard conversation around something that's dysfunctional. Maybe the responsibility for you is to let it go and stop blaming them. I don't know what the responsibility is for you, but just where is your responsibility? That's a good question to ask. And that word, as is famously said, responsible, respond able. Where are you going to welcome in God's light and God's love and be able to respond to it and able to respond to them in the light of those things? Not in a preachy way, not in a better than way, but from deep humility, care, and compassion. That's responsibility. And the second one, friends, is movement. Like, life always does have this movement. You know, people are part of our life. Some of them are part of our life for the whole time. Isn't that beautiful? And when we really fall in love, I mean, one of the beautiful parts of falling in love is when we fall in love, it's as if they've been part of our life for the whole time. And I was just meeting with a couple in northern New Jersey who were going to go up there do their baptism. They may even be watching right now. And they just had a new baby. And it's that same thing, like that movement, you know, that I'm sure the love they feel for that baby, they have no idea there ever was a time now where there wasn't that love. That's how love works. And life has movement. Some people are with us on the whole journey. What do we call them? Family, because they can't say no. That's family. And you may have biological family that way. You may have non-biological family that way, that you just know they're just with you for the whole journey, period, full stop, end of story, done. You just know that. And then there also are chapters. There's someone who we may have journeyed with for a chapter or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. We may have journeyed with them for a while. And it's reached a point where there's a new chapter. And how do you live in that? And it's not about sort of erasing chapters 1 through 5. It's knowing that without chapters 1 through 5, you wouldn't have gotten to chapter 6. So you honor that. You understand that's part of the movement of life. And notice, friends, again, when we hold life that way, what happens to blame and guilt? It just shifts. And even in hard circumstances, as we shift, it actually can become a little bit of gratitude. Not overnight, not forced necessarily, but just grateful for the journeys that we've had and the people who were part of our journeys along that path. And again, there's a gravitas to that. There's a depth to it. There's, dare we say, a tenderness to all that they were part of our journey. In the last one, and this is one, friends, I think that is absolutely unequivocal, that we can't, no matter what, you know, if you're like looking for just one thing to get out of today's sermon, it's that last one, goodwill. Goodwill means no matter what the circumstances, that we're always going to wish the best for other people, even the ones who've hurt us. Again, we have the perfect model of that in Jesus when Jesus from the cross over Easter says, "Father, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing." I mean, he says that from the cross. There's clearly a goodwill embedded in that. Not a punishment, not vengeance, not the kind of easy joy that we can slide into when we see somebody get what we would consider their just desserts. It has to be different. We have to live differently. That's why, again, repentance means to rethink. It's where literally we take the wiring in our brain and we try to rewire it a different way as God would have us see it. I think about this line from Matthew 5. You have heard that it was said, and this is from Jesus, you've heard that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. Beautiful stuff there, friends. Like literally, I can remember having a very strained time in a relationship, and one of my mentors, still one of my mentors to this day, simply said, can you pray for that person? I never heard anything so crazy as that in my life. And he was totally right. Can you pray for them? And it's praying for them with that spirit of goodwill. And it's praying for them, acknowledging that there is this movement in life. It's praying with all those things. And it's not going to mean that the relationship shifts at all, but I do think there's sort of a cosmic change that happens when we do those things. And then, friend, when we look about responsibility, movement, and goodwill, we see life differently. I mentioned this quote from Viktor Frankl a couple of weeks ago because I just found it so powerful, but I didn't have a slide on it, so I wanted to include it in a slide. For those of you who are fans of taking a screenshot, this is a good one. Viktor Frankl said, we have to shift from what do I want from life to what is life asking of me. Oh, so good. And when relationships are dysfunctional and we feel ourselves being pulled by the hand out of those because we become too used to the dysfunction and too used to the dysfunction in the relationship, and we're pulled and we're being told, don't look back, and that's the blame and the guilt, that's the making the hurt your story. The hurt is not your story. And we're starting to be pulled forward into a new and different direction. That part of being able to look this way in life and really being able to think, not that first question, what do I want? What do I want? Because that might get you turned right back around. But really being able to step here and to be able to ask that question, what is life asking of me now? Here I'm in this new place, being pulled by the hand. What's life asking of me right now? Great question to ask. Great question to think about if you're in a time of transition. And if we can say it not from that panic and that I need to solve this, but just from, no, I need to solve this. It's no, I need, when I ask that question, what is life asking me? It's not, I need to solve this in that frenetic energy. It's no, I need to be this. I need to be this. I need to live heaven now as best I can. I need to live the human experience now, always blessed, broken, and shared. That's, I think, friends, the way we can leave relationships where we can figure out release and renew, because it's all still got that same point, that same movement towards love and care and compassion and growth. That's what God's asking of us. So friends, wishing you a good week. Wishing you a week of not looking back, but as best you can, finding a way to look forward. Amen. What we're going to do now, friends, is we're going to take a little breath. And we're going to shift gears. As we shift gears here, we're going to do a little prayer. Then we're going to do the Our Father prayer. Then after the Our Father prayer, we'll do a blessing, and then we'll hear a little bit of music and hear our great last song. So please join me. Lord, thank you for your presence here today. And Lord, whether people are joining us in person or online, Lord, thank you for bringing us together in this thing we call community, where we can share thoughts and ideas and experiences, share our strengths, our worries, as well as our hopes and our joys. Thank you for that opportunity, Lord. Hear our prayer. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. Folks, have a wonderful week.
Walking home, talking low, seeing shows and evening clothes with you. Nervous touch and getting drunk. I'm staying up and waking up with you. Now we're sleeping at the edge, holding something we don't need. All this delusion in our heads is gonna bring us to our knees. So come on, let it go. Just let it be. Why don't you be you? And I'll be me. Everything that's broke, leave it to the breeze. Why don't you be you? And I'll be me. And I'll be me. Throwing clothes across the floor, seeing toes and slamming doors with you. If this is all we're living for, why are we doing it anymore? I used to recognize myself. It's funny how reflections change. When we're becoming something else, I think it's time to walk away. So come on, let it go. Just let it be. Why don't you be you? And I'll be me. Everything that's broke, leave it to the breeze. Why don't you be you? And I'll be me. And I'll be me. Trying to fit your hand inside mine when you know it just don't belong. No force on earth can make it feel right. No, no. Trying to push this problem uphill when it's just too heavy to hold. Think now's the time to let it slide. So come on, let it go. Just let it be. Why don't you be you? And I'll be me. So come on, let it go. Just let it be. Let the ashes fall. Forget about me. So come on, let it go. Just let it be. Why don't you be you? And I'll be me. And everything is broke,
Thank you, everybody. Have a great week. Give it up for Lena.